since you asked. Here's all my time together. Take the rugged sunny days, the warm and rocky weather. Take the roads that I have walked along, looking for tomorrow's time. Peace of mind. As my life spills into yours, changing with the hours, filling up the world with time, turning time to flowers. I can sing you all the songs that I never sang to one man before. We have seen a million stones lying by the water. You have climbed the hills with me to the mountain shelter, taking off the days one by one, setting them to breathe in the sun. Take the lilies and the lace from the days of childhood, all the willow winding paths leading up and outward. This is what I give, this is what I ask you for, nothing more.
Would you come forward closer? Friends, family, and neighbors, we are gathered here today on the shore of our beautiful lake to witness the joining of these two lives as one in marriage. Jane Driscoll and Bernard Sanders have come to their decision to marry freely, with certainty and joy, and they are delighted and proud to share this moment with so many of their friends, family, and co-workers who have been an intimate and essential part of their lives. I would like to make a few personal comments about Bernie and Jane and what their marriage today means to me. Bernie, I have realized that when you and I first met, you were the age that Levy is now. What most impressed me then was not your politics, though you were a political activist even then. It was not your tremendous energy, though you've always had that. What impressed me then was your ease with children and your caring about children. It seems fitting to me that that is one of the areas of interest and concern that you and Jane share. Jane, you and Bernie met in the heat of Bernie's first mayoral campaign. I watched you grow in your work, and I watched your relationship grow in the ensuing years. You have both been actively involved in the world, in working for social justice throughout your adult lives. I am confident that your new relationship will only add strength to your commitment, that by your very natures you will continue to strive to make the world a better place. You are also creating something new here today, something that did not exist before, a new family. For Levy, Heather, Karina, and David, you will provide a home and a model of possibilities, of ways of being in the world. My wish for the two of you on this day is that you will provide a solid base and refuge for one another, as well as for your new family. A base for going out in the world, for continuing your life's work. and also a refuge, a retreat from your struggles, a place to comfort and to support one another. I wish you both many years of happiness. Among Jane and Bernie's closest friends for many years are Jonathan and Roxanne Leopold. Roxanne would like to make a statement for the two of them to the bride and groom.
Bernie and Jane, Jonathan and I have had the privilege of sharing some very private moments with you, the joys and sorrows and hopes and disappointments in what otherwise has been a very public relationship. And I would like to speak of some of the things that you hope for and the things which many of us here wish for you today. First, we wish for you a love and a trust that will last a lifetime and will give you strength and confidence. We wish for you a home, not simply a place of stone and wood, but an island of security in this very hectic world. A home with books and music and poetry, all the things which represent the highest strivings of men and women. We wish for you a rich family life, filled with laughter and hugs and kisses, with children who are not mere reflections of yourselves, but who will learn from your best traits and will go forth to recreate the values which you have taught them so well by your example. We hope that one of these values will be the concept of family, not as an economic unit, but as a transcendent force which brings people close in times of joy and in times of need. And finally, we wish that you will always be able to say, as you are saying today, "This is my beloved, this is my friend."
Are you, Bernie and Jane, in the presence of your family, friends, and co-workers, and in the presence of your children, Levy, Heather, Karina, and David, prepared to make the commitment of marriage?
Yeah.
Bernie and Jane, your vows are your own, and you have expressed them one to the other privately. Do you now wish to make a public declaration at this time of your commitment to marriage?
We do.
I married Jeffrey Berman to be my husband. Promise to love, honor, and cherish you. In joy and in sorrow, in good times and in bad, the rich and the poor, in sickness and in health, the born and the blessed shall live.
You memorize it better than I do. I, Colonel Saville, do take these very things as my wife, to love, to cherish, and honor. Support always that I stand. So God bless us.
Do you have a token to offer in pledge of these vows? May these rings be a symbol of your true faith in each other and always remind you of your love.
This ring, I be wed.
Inasmuch as Bernie and Jane have consented to live together in marriage and have pledged themselves to each other in the presence of this company, I now pronounce you man and wife.
The pictures of the Soviet Union that you will see were videotaped by Jane Sanders.
Those poor kids. Sweetie, hold it steady.
Em, you want to turn your sign around?
It's all right.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to Enzo.
Deeply moved and impressed by the hospitality of Mayor Ryabkov of Yaroslavl and all of the people that we met there. They were just as friendly as they could possibly be. Certainly want to see a sister city relationship established with Burlington. The way it's done in the Soviet Union, however, is they're going to have to go through their bureaucratic process through Moscow. Our hope is, it's at this stage still tentative, but our hope is that a delegation from Yaroslavl will come to Burlington in late September or early October. On occasions, we all went out together. Sometimes we went out separately, but we did have the opportunity to meet with teachers and pupils, with physicians in their medical school, with lawyers and a judge in their court system, with people who are in charge of some major industrial development projects that they have. In fact, one plant, an oil refinery, which employs 6,000 people, with Mayor Ryabkov and the deputy mayors of the city. The truth of the matter is, they like Americans, and they respected Americans, and they admire Americans. We were also there, needless to say, in a historical moment, and they were very, very pleased and excited by President Reagan's going to Moscow and by signing the summit agreement. And in fact, I was personally surprised at how popular Reagan is in the Soviet Union. In some ways a little bit more popular than maybe here. But also, I think before we went to Yaroslavl, we had the opportunity to meet with a gentleman named Sergei Plekhanov at the Institute for Canadian and American Studies, and we were impressed there and throughout the entire process at the openness of Soviet officials to acknowledge many of the problems that they had. I think I went there expecting them to say, well, everything is great, there's no problem, but that certainly wasn't the case. They're proud of the fact, for example, that their healthcare system is free, but they would be open to acknowledge that it is probably 10 years behind the United States in terms of medical technology, and they would very much, I think, love to see some of their physicians come to Burlington and some of our physicians go there. So they're proud of their achievements, but they're also very free to admit that by no stretch of the imagination are things perfect. They've got a lot of work to do. Also, while we were there, history is undergoing Soviet history is undergoing some major changes right now. We brought back with us a couple of copies of a newspaper they're called Moscow News, in which you're seeing enormously strong criticisms of the present Soviet establishment and the need for major democratization in their country. And I think that whole process impressed many of us. And it was just an exciting time to be in the Soviet Union in addition to everything else.
What was your impression of the Soviet Union before this trip, and did it change after the trip?
To be very honest with you, you know, 10 days doesn't make any of us an expert on the Soviet Union, and I don't think that I was an expert before I went either. I was impressed by the friendliness of the people and their respect and admiration for Americans. They really do like Americans. And over and over again, and this is something that I think others will confirm, they are very nervous about war. They don't like war. And in at least 2 cities, we all went to the Leningrad Memorial, which is a memorial in honor of the, I think it was 700,000 people who starved to death during the siege of Leningrad. And when we were in Yaroslavl, one of the very first things that we did was jointly dedicate a bouquet of flowers to the war dead of Yaroslavl. They lost 22 million people in World War II, and they have not forgotten that. And I think want to make sure that another war doesn't happen. So I would say, to answer your question, Enrique, I was impressed by their friendliness toward Americans, and they're really wanting, hopefully, to work with us, and their excitement about this summit agreement and their hope that out of this will come a closer relationship with the United States.
Impressed or surprised as well?
Both impressed and surprised.
Are you still planning on coming to the
I would be happy to if you would like me to. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I need to go and get the beginning
Sure.
of the show on there. But
Okay, that's what time, 11 o'clock?
Well, a few minutes before 11
Okay.
would be nice.
If I
Thank
fall
you.
asleep on the air, though, you'll forgive me.
While you were gone, there was an AP story that came out of Yaroslavl, and they talked about it was right after the summit, and they said there's no hot water, there's no food. It was this whole. What was your experience? Was it?
Oh, well,
They must have saved it all for us.
Well, obviously, that there was no hot water and no food.
Yeah. And
I
it's
read
just
the
the
story. It
people
was a
were
terribly inaccurate story.
The people were going back to, like, having to go to Moscow. That sort of everything had been fixed up for the summit. Now that it was over, there was people.
You know, I can't. None of us did an exhaustive study of living conditions in Yaroslavl. Our impression, and please correct me if I'm wrong. You have people here, Republican, and Democrat, and so forth and so on. First of all, it's a very beautiful city physically. It is a beautiful city, right on the Volga River. It has, and it was during the day. You have, I don't know, many hundreds, if not thousands, well, hundreds, I guess, of people swimming right in the lake and boating. They have some 2 community boathouses. They beat us.
The waterfront is publicly owned.
Yeah, well, what isn't publicly owned? So you have people swimming in the downtown. You have some beautiful old churches that we had an opportunity to tour. They're in the midst of building a whole lot of housing. They have a serious housing problems in terms of the shortage of housing. I mean, I don't want to, correct me if I'm wrong. You know, we didn't do a study of these things, but people there seem reasonably happy and content. I didn't notice much deprivation. Howard, is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's real fair. It was, I was really surprised by the beauty of the city. And in many ways, I think it's a good partner for Burlington because the pace of life there was pretty similar to here. People were very open and friendly. I guess one of the things that surprised me about the Soviet Union in general, all of the cities we were in, was our ability to move around on our own, particularly in Moscow and Leningrad. Most of us broke away from the regular tour and just went off on taxi cabs, subway rides, and we met people, we looked up people who were friends of friends, we visited people in their apartments.
Were those visits unsupervised at all?
Totally unsupervised. In fact, some of us met with the people who you could really think of as dissidents who were unhappy with life there, and other people who were pretty satisfied. But it was just like moving around in New York or Boston.
In terms of the food in Yaroslavl, I mean, I did go into 2 different food stores, just that's my line of work. I was curious to see how it works. I mean, the assortment in the Soviet Union, generally speaking, particularly this time of year, it's the end of the storage season for cabbage and et cetera, it's not like what you have in the United States. You're not going to find 25 different varieties of citrus fruit, but basic foodstuffs are certainly there, and I don't see there's any shortage of food or anything like that.
Okay, does anybody want to add anything that hasn't been said? Don't be shy.
Yeah, I'll add something. On that article that you're talking about, I think it referred to the approach of Yaroslavl as being something, the equivalent of going to Paramus, New Jersey. and I can't think of anything that could be farther from the truth. The only town I can think of that's as pretty as Yaroslavl is Burlington. It's an awful pretty place. There is housing on the outskirts that lack what we would consider normal plumbing, but in the city the housing is pretty.
And there are some 200- and 300-year-old wooden frame
That's
houses.
like the farm in Vermont.
Where do you think was accomplished as a
I
result of this?
I think a lot was. I mean, I think, and I feel this as strongly as I believe anything, that the future of this world is going to depend upon the ability of the United States and the Soviet Union to develop a positive relationship. I mean, one of the interesting things that happens is when mayors get together, when city officials get together, is they always complain about not having enough money. And it's amazing to hear these guys in Yaroslavl say, yep, we need more money for housing, we need more money for health care, and we in the Soviet Union are spending too much damn money on military expenditures. And it sounds like, you know, 3/4 of the mayors in the United States of America. I think what is going on, you know, what went on at the very top between Reagan and Gorbachev, and what went on at a lower level, is an understanding that you have two people with a lot of common aspirations and common needs, and we have differences of opinion, but we don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars and bring this world to the brink of annihilation because we disagree. You know, Burlington City Council disagrees occasionally. You know, you don't have to threaten to kill people, and I think the fact that we received the warmth that we did made me leave there with an understanding that if we put our minds to it, we can develop a positive and peaceful relationship with them and use the energies for constructive ways, in constructive ways. We have a lot to learn from them. We really do. They have a lot to learn from us. And if we start pooling our talents and our intelligence, we can make this world a lot better place to live. So that's the message that I got, and I think they're ready for it. Yeah.
What kind of a timeline do you think we're going to see on this sister thing becoming formalized?
That's, in a sense, will move as fast as their bureaucracy allows it to move. They indicated that late September or early October would be a good time for them to come here, and we'll try to do that. They want the relationship. That's for sure. They already have.
They indicated.
Yes, they did. They really do. They already have 4 sister city relations with Finland, West Germany, France, and Portugal. And they take that stuff very seriously, and they would like the relationship. So all that has to, and I think it will happen, it just has to go through Moscow. That's the way it is done in their country.
Did the trip help to expedite that?
Yes, it did. In fact, we are moving much faster in this process than most, much faster. It often takes, if I'm not mistaken, where's David? Is David here? I think it often takes several years to bring this about, and we might have it in 7 or 8 months from beginning to end. So we're moving very, very rapidly. And one of the ways you move rapidly is to go. That's the way it's done.
Do you think that when they come in September, October, that could be the
if they come, yes, that's what it would be, exactly.
Okay. And would it be people like the mayor or the equivalent, or?
I think he would give his right arm to come. I think he would like to come, but I don't know who makes those decisions. I honestly don't know.
And also, what do you see? I mean, we know what the sister city relationship with Puerto Cabezas is like. What do you see happening in this one?
This is very different than Nicaragua. This is really a very different one. Nicaragua, you know my views on Nicaragua. And Nicaragua is a very, very poor country. And the heart of our sister city relationship there is basically to provide material aid to those people. With the Soviet Union, we're not going to be providing them with material aid. Basically, it is an attempt to bring the two peoples together to get to know each other better. And the possibility of real trade. Howard Seaver, talked to some of the people, and others did, about the possibility of developing an economic relationship. It's not going to be simple, but that's certainly something that we would like to see. And under Perestroika, their local factories are now given a lot more freedom than before. So it is not going to be quite as complicated. And if that could happen, that would be extraordinary. But essentially, it's bringing the two communities together and people of the United States and Soviet Union together.
And we've met with our counterparts and have laid the groundwork to do that, even starting the planning process before we actually sign the Sister City Agreement. We've met with teachers, and we talked about teacher exchanges and student exchanges, economic exchanges. As a matter of fact, we've even gone so far as to set up some different things that we are going to have our students study together, write reports and exchange them with a school over there. So there'll be a lot of things happening between now and September. It's not just sitting and waiting.
Okay? Good.
Jane, what's that a picture of?
This is
This is Moscow's Church Street Marketplace.
Now this is
called the
actually,
Arbat.
do you remember where Reagan, I think that was the place the Reagan went walking down? That's it. And this is not Ronald Reagan, actually, this is Jane.
This is me. But it was great. It was just so lively.
An incredible facility. Within this facility, they had 3 theaters, including what they call